Hey, if you want to become a millionaire before 40 years old, skip the fluff. Here are 40 hard-earned, real-life lessons that actually moved the needle for me, and I've helped thousands of others do the same. Now, why 40? Because I just turned 40. Oh, I'm so old. So this is sort of like a reflection video on the things that actually helped me become a millionaire before this. So some of you already are going to know this stuff, some of this, great. Now ask yourself though, how can I do them better or more consistently? And some of these things are probably gonna just punch you in the gut and you're gonna be like, I never thought of that. And hopefully it'll change your life. Now, if you find these tips helpful, the best way you can repay me is to just hit that like button, little one below the video, helps my ego, helps us reach more people, and subscribe if you like content on building wealth without losing your soul in the process. Now, my name is Brandon Turner, and here are the 40 tips for becoming a millionaire for those under 40. Number one, set a vision that scares you. Now, what I mean by that is when you look at the future, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to reverse engineer a way to get there? And so what exactly does that look like? And if it scares you, that's the point. It'd be like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I would want that. So it scares me not knowing how to get there. Now, early on when I was like 20, I read a book on rental property investing and I saw a vision, a way to like reverse engineer how to get there. So from like, hey, if you started here and you bought this in year 1 and this in year 4 and this in year 5 and you sold them and you bought this, you can have $1 million by, in 10 years. Blew my mind. And so I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna become a millionaire by 30. That's what I said, millionaire by 30. I had no idea how I was gonna get there, but I said I was gonna get there. That was my vision that scared me. And guess what? I pulled it off. I remember at 30 years old, I was doing a financial audit on myself and I looked down and there was a number, hit over $1 million. Because I had that vision. So do you have a vision of where you're going? And then will you start working to reverse engineer that to get there? Number 2, and this might be a silly one, but marry the right person. Like honestly, if you marry somebody who is constantly telling you, we can't do that, no, you're dumb, you're not gonna be able to make that money, they're not the right person. Now, if you're already married to them, you're gonna have to suck it up and figure out a way around it. Other thing about marrying somebody, it's like the ultimate wealth hack because all of a sudden you can make twice as much money, but have the same expenses. Maybe you have an extra car payment, but the idea is if you have a spouse that what we call a cash flow negative spouse, are constantly spending all your money all the time, they will not listen to reason when it comes to saving and budgeting and all that, you're going to struggle your entire life. And so having a spouse that's on board and you're rowing in the same direction, could not pick a better tip for that one. And I was super lucky with that. I found an amazing woman, Heather. She's awesome. She was adaptable. She listened to me. She read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I asked her to read it. I had to read Twilight to get her to do it, but she read Rich Dad Poor Dad and she's like, oh, I get it. And so, we didn't start with the right mindset, but we grew together in that way. Tip number 3, buy assets, not liabilities. Now, I just mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad a minute ago. That's the book that's changed millions of people's lives because it teaches you that point. If you want to get rich, buy assets. Assets are things that put money in your pocket, that go up over time, that help you financially. Liabilities are things that hurt you. So a car payment, buying that brand new truck with an $80,000 truck with your $1,000 a month mortgage payment or loan payment on it, that's a liability. It hurts you consistently. Now, if you buy a rental property that makes you $300 a month in cash flow every single month, $300, that's an asset. The more assets you can buy, great. That's how you build wealth. Minimize liabilities. The liabilities will keep you poor forever. Next tip, think in decades, but act in days. Now, what does that mean? Well, we talked about having the vision earlier, but you got to take that vision and then boil it down to something you can do daily. Essentially what we're doing is we're saying, hey, if my goal is to have $1 million net worth by the time I'm 40, okay, what do I got to do this year? What do I got to do this quarter? What do I got to do this week? What do I got to do today? And if you line all that together, we call it the goal alignment method, that if you do that process of the goal alignment method, you will every day be doing something that gets you one step closer toward that goal of the $1 million by 40 or whatever your goal happens to be. Next tip. This one's a little bit specific for real estate, but I think it applies to every person. Doesn't matter if you're gonna be a real estate investor or not. There's a concept that I put a word to years ago. People have done this for thousands of years, but I put a word to it and it kind of took off and now everyone talks about this. It's called house hacking. The idea is you buy a property, live in one unit and rent the other units out. I did that. My first house, bought a 4-bedroom house. I lived in one unit, rented the other ones out. The reason this is so powerful is one, you can get in for very low money down, like 3.5% down with an FHA loan, but also then it turns a liability, which a house is kind of a liability, right? If you own a house and you have to pay $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 a month into an asset by house hacking. The biggest expense you have in your life is most likely your rent or mortgage. And so when you can house hack, it eliminates that. Now you can use that money to either A, dump into investments, or B, not have to work as much. So you can dump all your time into an asset like a business you're building or real estate. Tip number 6, avoid lifestyle creep. Most people, when they're trying to build wealth, they start making more and more money from their job, but then they end up spending more and more money, right? When I first got started in life, my wife and I, we would go stay at like a Super 8 motel. Anybody stayed at a Super Super 8 motel, you know, like the weird little pools. And I mean, they're not hotels or whatever, but they're $80 a night. And then we started making some money. So we started staying at like a Hilton, you know, maybe a Garden Inn, not a full Hilton. We're not that rich yet. And then we eventually got into the real Hiltons, and then maybe a nice Marriott. Then maybe later, you know, a little bit better resort, and then a Four Seasons, right? So we just kept, as we made more money, we just kept elevating our lifestyle. I used to drive a 1989 Toyota Camry. Today, I drive a brand new Tesla, 2 of them. That's called lifestyle creep. I'm guilty of it as well. And so the key though is to minimize lifestyle creep as much as you possibly can until you're rich enough to afford those things. In fact, I wanted a Tesla for years. I refused to buy it until I bought a rental property that made enough cash flow, like profit every month, to pay the payment on Tesla. And that's when I bought it. Tip number 7, related to what I just said, but I'll say it quickly. Build wealth before you show wealth. Most people do that backwards. They buy the thing they can't really afford on payments so they can look wealthy, the watch, the truck, the car, the whatever the thing is, the cool condo, and they can't really afford that. And so they're always struggling. So build wealth before you show wealth. All right, tip number 8, hire a virtual assistant early. You know, buddy of mine, Dan Martell, many of you guys probably follow him here on YouTube. Dan Martell talks about buying back your time. He's got a great book called Buy Back Your Time. And one of the best ways to do that is to outsource a lot of the little $2 an hour tasks that you shouldn't be doing. Like checking your email, posting on your social media, pulling a list of properties that you want to go send mail to, like things that like you could do, but they're not really the highest and best use of your time. If you can find a virtual assistant, you can get them for under $10 an hour, doesn't have to be full time, have them start doing more and more of the little stuff, personal stuff and business stuff that are just low dollar per hour tasks, and get that done early. And of course, AI is making that even more easy with AI agents, but we're not quite there yet. I still think a virtual assistant is helpful for the next couple of years until AI is good enough to take over all that. Tip number 9, avoid the good life trap. A lot of people on their quest to build wealth, they get to a comfortable level where their life is good, right? They're making enough money at their job, let's say, and they have a cushy job. They like their job enough. Maybe they don't want to do it forever, but they like it enough, and they make enough money to pay their bills. And so then they just say, you know what? I have no more fire in my belly. I'm going to give up. Don't do that. Understand the good life is a trap, because all it takes is one downsizing, one getting fired, one company shutting down, one economic shift, and all of a sudden that good life turns to a bad life really quick. You owe it to your family, to your kids, to the world, to continue to build wealth. I don't care if you spend that wealth, you can give all that wealth away, but you owe it. If you're watching this video and you're this far into it, you are different than most people. I believe that God made you different than most, and that you have the ability to build wealth. Not so you can have a nicer jet, but so you can have a better life and you can help other people get one as well. So avoid that good life or good enough life trap. Number 10, look for asymmetric bets. I love this concept of an asymmetric bet. So an asymmetric bet is a gamble, so to speak, where you say, hey, the upside is here, the downside is here, and the downside is smaller than the upside. If you hire a virtual assistant, that might cost you $1,000 a month. That's the downside, $1,000 a month. What is the upside? If you can outsource 10 hours a week of your work, so now you can focus those extra 10 hours on building a business or buying real estate or investing or whatever, or even time with your kids, that's a huge upside. So the downside's little, the upside's huge. The same thing is with real estate. I might put $10,000 down on a house hack, and I might make $1 million down the road when that property goes up in value over the next 30 years. You start a business, might cost you a couple months, might cost you a few $1,000s. The upside, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you will fail, but you just keep making those bets and you will eventually win. That tip is so important. Number 11, default to action, not planning. Now, plans are great, right? There's that great quote from Eisenhower that says, plans are worthless, planning is everything, or something like that. And so the idea being like, you should make a plan. That's good. You should know where you're going, right? We talked about reverse engineering your plan. However, at the end of the day, ideas, plans, they're kind of worthless if you don't back them up with action. So take daily action all the time. Prioritize action, even if you have not enough information. Let's just go back to the rental property example. You might not know everything there is to know about rental properties. Like, what is a cost segregation study? You don't have to know that necessarily, right? You'll figure that out down the road. However, do you know the basics of real estate investing? Can you buy a rental property? Do you understand how to analyze a rental property? And if you don't, that's a little bit of information you can get, and then you make a plan, and you just got to take action. Because here's the thing, the knowledge becomes cemented in your action. You can learn about it by reading a book, and you should read a book, or you should take a course. If you're brand new to real estate, I have a thing called First Deal. Go to firstdeal.com. You can learn about it. It's like we teach you the fundamentals, but it's not the fundamentals that are going to get you there. It's doing them and then making an offer and then failing at it and saying, oh, well, that didn't work. And then trying it again and then trying it again and trying it again. That's what's going to actually get you there. So default to action, not planning. Number 12, this worked for me. Document your journey on social media. Social media is like being a hot girl. Let me explain. Social media is like, if you have a great social media presence, you have the most beautiful woman in the world, and you're walking around and everyone opens doors for you and everyone wants to give you gifts and presence and all that. I wouldn't know, I'm not a hot girl, but I see that with my hot girl friends. Life is just easier for them. Having social media is like my version of a hot girl, right? Like everything just becomes easier. I need to get into a door. I need somebody to open up a door for me, meaning like, metaphorically speaking, everything's easier when I have a social media following. Now, don't waste a lot of time on social media, but if you spend an hour a week on social media, I guarantee you that'll benefit you and make you wealthier down the road. Whether you want to raise capital, find employees, get feedback on your product, sell your product, having social media is such a cheat code. Number 13, don't wait for permission. A lot of people are just waiting almost like for somebody to tell them it's okay, whether it's a spouse, now don't go against your spouse, but they're like waiting for their spouse to say it's okay, or they're waiting for the market to be just perfect, or they're waiting for some person somewhere that doesn't even exist to give them permission. People like me, like when I got into real estate, nobody gave me permission. I just started doing stuff. I just did it. And people are like, what's he doing? Like all my friends were like, what's he doing? I'm like, I'm just doing stuff. I don't know, I'm just doing stuff. I'm not waiting for permission from anyone. Just go, just work. 95% of the population will never do that. They're just waiting for some permission from some mysterious force that doesn't exist. Number 14, this is gonna sound like a real estate tip, but it actually applies to a lot of different businesses, is get good at finding undervalued deals. So in real estate, of course, that's what I'm talking about. Is like you gotta find deals that are worth more than what you buy them for, right? So there's a lot of ways to do that in real estate. You can send letters, you can go door knock people's houses, you can use the internet, but even if you're looking in business, find ways to get things cheaper. Like really work on finding undervalued deals. I mean, even let's say you have an Amazon business, right? And you're selling wooden sunglasses. I once tried that, it didn't work. But how can you get better deals on the sunglasses? Look for undervalued there. It's super important. If you're just always just doing what's easy and it's in front of you, like I did, I mean, with the wooden sunglasses, I just like went on Alibaba. I found a company selling wooden sunglasses. I'm like, all right, I'll just buy 1,000 of those. And I got them. And I paid like $10 a piece. And then I go look at Amazon and somebody's selling the same ones for $9. So clearly I didn't do a good job of finding undervalued deals. Number 15, focus on a cash flow, not appreciation. Cash flow is money that comes in every month, whether it's a company you run that's like monthly reoccurring income, or whether it's a real estate you're doing. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong with flipping a house and making 20 grand. You might need that money, but what are you gonna do with that money? How can you turn that money into cash flow? Cash flow gets you out of your job. So we need cash flow so you can get out of your job and then you can put all your effort into your business, your real estate, whatever. Next, focus on weird niches. There's a great book out there about like red ocean, blue oceans, and like a red ocean is like a competitive area. So for example, in real estate, if you're like, I'm gonna go buy a house and put a rental tenant in the house. That's just like very vanilla plain. That doesn't really work today very well because there's a lot of competition, rates are high, interest rates are high, property values are high. It doesn't really work. But you know what does work? Things like the pad split model. There's a company called Pad Split that does this, that they rent by the bedroom. Now that's cool and that works. Or midterm rentals with like furnishedfinder.com. That's a great niche. Assisted living, helping the old people who aren't ready for like a nursing home, but like they don't want to live by themselves. Great niche. Those are weird, right? So focus on the weird. That's where all the money is today in real estate or in anything, is find weird things. 17, define your criteria, or what we call your buy box or your crystal clear criteria. Do you know what exactly do you do and buy? And can you communicate to somebody? In real estate, I always say, what location, what strategy are you trying to do? What condition of the properties, property type, what price range, and what would make it a good deal? Now, when you have a criteria like that, again, this doesn't have to be real estate, but I'll use that example. Let's just say somebody came to me and said, what are you looking for, Brandon? What are you trying to do? And I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a deal. Well, what kind? Well, like a rental deal. Okay, well, what kind? I don't know. But if I said, yeah, I'm really looking for like a duplex, triplex, or fourplex somewhere in Cincinnati that I can buy, fix up, and then rent out, I'm really looking for something under $400,000. And I really want it to make me, I'm going to try to get a 10% cash and cash return. Are you going to take me more seriously if I give you that? Of course you will. The same thing applies to any business. Get more specific and get more people to want to help you. And the things will align, like the universe aligns to give you what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're not clear on it, you're going to struggle. Number 18, get the first deal done. Now, whether that's real estate or something else, get the first thing done. Right now, if you're trying to like start a business, let's say real estate, you're not yet an investor. Your identity has not shifted from non-investor to investor. Identity is like one of the most important concepts in the world, how you see yourself, because your actions flow out of your identity. So if you don't have a strong identity yet, how do you get that identity? You have to do the thing. You have to force yourself to do the thing, even if it's imperfect. I tell people this all the time. Buy your first rental property, even if you break even on it. Now, I don't want you to lose money, but even if you broke even, it is still valuable because you shift your identity from not an investor, not an entrepreneur, not wealthy, to becoming wealthy, or now I'm a real estate investor, now I'm an entrepreneur. Get the thing done, even if it's imperfect, because that will shift your identity. Number 19, focus more on making more money than always trying to cut every single expense. Now, like I said earlier, you want to avoid lifestyle creep. What I'm talking about here, if you're obsessed with saving, I'm going to get the coffee from 7-Eleven, I'm going to go drive 5 minutes over there because it's only $2 and at Starbucks it's $3, you're solving the wrong problem. let's put your brain towards something that's more important. Or if you're like freaking out over your cell phone bill, you're like, how do I get my cell phone bill down? It's 200, I want it at 150. You're gonna spend all your energy focusing on saving that little bit of money. Instead, focus on making more money. It's way easier to make 50 bucks a month than it is to save $50 a month. And again, there's caveats on all of this. Don't be weird with your money, but like, just focus on, there's so many ways to make money. Make that your problem. Get your subconscious working on that problem of making more money, not saving more money. One of the most important things I ever did in trying to build up wealth was just, I'm obsessed with making more money, probably to an unhealthy level. Number 20, learn sales. Learn how to sell things, whatever that is. And by selling things, it could be raising money. That's also, you're selling your investment. How do you learn sales? Read books on sales, follow people on social media that do sales. I always consider it like slimy, like a thing that they did in the 90s when they wore a suit and they knocked on the door. It's what Dwight Schrute does on The Office. Like, I didn't like that, but that's not really sales. Sales is simply being able to communicate what it is you have and getting people interested in it. It's just persuasion. And so get good at sales and everything in your life will be easier. Number 21, join a mastermind group or a community. Now, obviously I have a few myself, so it's gonna sound self-serving here, but one of the most important things I did is I joined a mastermind that wasn't mine at the time. I just joined a group of millionaires. They were all millionaires and I joined this group and it cost me a lot of money. It was thousands of dollars a year. But just getting in the room with those people and then having a platform in which we could go through problems and solve problems, like having a structure for that, changed my life and made me tens of millions of dollars. So joining a mastermind is super important. Just make sure you join the right one. Like join one that your vibe fits with, like, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So like find a group of people that resonate with you. If you're trying to get into real estate, firstdeal.com is a mastermind I put together for people looking for their first real estate deal. If you're an active real estate investor right now, I have a group called the Better Life Tribe where we train people to be like work on their real estate business and scale up so that they can scale their time out. Becoming better business owners. That's a mastermind. We get together regularly. We have calls weekly. Now, whether it's mine or somebody else, there's a million masterminds out there. Get into a group of people where you are like working towards something together and solving problems together. They'll change your life. Number 22, always offer value to everyone you come across. Early on in my career, I knew I wanted to get into real estate and I met this landlord. His name was Kyle. Nice guy, my best friend's landlord. And so I would just like end up talking with him. And I didn't say like, what can I do for you? That's always a weird question to ask a potential mentor. I just asked him like, what are you struggling with? What are you doing? What are you working on? And he's like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of painting to do this summer. I'm like, oh, do you need a painter? He's like, I mean, sure. I was like, I can paint. No, I didn't know how to paint. And I learned how to paint. I went and watched some YouTube videos on how to paint and I'd done a little bit and I made some mistake. I charged him almost nothing. I think I charged him $300 to paint an entire house, the entire exterior of a house. It took me a week. I think I charged him $300. And it wasn't the best paint job in the world, I'm sure. And guess what? He actually came over there and showed me some tips on painting. I didn't lie to him completely. I did say like, I don't have a lot of experience, but it's a rental property. He didn't care about it being perfect. So he came over, showed me some of the stuff to do. We did it. I made the money. I didn't manage his rental properties for him for years, for almost no money whatsoever, because I just wanted to build a relationship, which I did. Number 23, rely on systems, not hustle. So a system is something that you like documented. This is how we do a thing. Hustle is like reactive. I'm just gonna go do a thing. A system might be like, I'm going to send out 500 letters every month to landlords in my area. And then all the phone calls I'm gonna talk to them, I'm gonna put them in my CRM. And then I'm going to try to make at least 10 offers every month. And my hope is to buy one of those every month. That's a system. Hustle would be like, I'm gonna go out there and find a deal. What do? I don't know. Maybe I'll call somebody. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. That's a hustle. So rely on systems in your business, less hustle. Number 24, this is an obvious one, maybe I should have said earlier, but don't just trade your time for money. You've got to separate time and money. A good example might be coaching. If I wouldn't coach people on real estate, which I could do, I could charge you $500 an hour. I could charge you $1,000 an hour. Some people would probably pay it, maybe more. But now I'm tying my money dollar per hour. Instead, I have a program called First Deal. We help hundreds and hundreds of new investors jump into real estate. And so I only have to spend a set amount of time. I do a group call every single week and I teach them and we mastermind and stuff, but I'm not doing 100 hours a week of time. I'm doing like 1 hour or 2 hours. And then a few hours of thinking and planning, but like it's not tied to that. I can get that thing bigger and bigger without worrying about it. Or the Better Life Tribe, same concept. I teach every week an hour-and-a-half long call, and it takes me a few hours to put together that talk, but I can serve 20,000 people in there if I wanted to. I think we have just under 1,000 now, but I could serve a lot more. Number 25, learn the art of delegation. Martyrdom is saying, I have to do everything myself. I'm the only one that can do this. I'm gonna figure it all out. Who, not how, or delegation says, I'm gonna let somebody else do this. Now, a side tip on that one is there's a difference between delegation and abdication. Delegation is like, I'm gonna delegate this thing. I'm going to give you, this is how we do it. This is what I expect. This is the outcome. And I'm going to inspect what I expect. That is delegation. But have you ever given somebody a task and then let them run with it and they come back and it's just done terribly? That's because you just abdicated. You threw it over the fence and said, your problem now. You didn't inspect it, what you expected. And so delegation is all about having a system of accountability, and abdication is all about just hoping that it gets better and closing your eyes. Next, track your net worth monthly, at least. Now, there's a lot of apps that can do that for you, or you can just get a spreadsheet, but track your net worth. What you focus on tracking tends to improve. This is actually just a general business principle. KPI tracking, super important for all areas of your business. Track the numbers. That's what we teach in the Better Life Tribe. Track your numbers, track your numbers, track your numbers. But if you're not tracking your net worth, how do we know if it's going up? How do we know if what you're doing is working or not working? And even if it doesn't change much, it's still track it. It makes sure that your subconscious knows that this is important to you and that you're going to focus on it. Number 27, create a perfect week schedule and then stick to it. So literally sit down with a spreadsheet or a piece of paper and say, here's every 30 minutes throughout the entire day from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday through Saturday, the whole week. And then what does that look like? What does a perfect week for you look like? If you got a job, fine, fill in those spots. You got a lunch break? Okay, what are you going to do during that? Oh, you got a little bit on Saturday? It doesn't take 40 hours a week to build up a business or to start saving more money or to start buying a side hustle or to buy real estate. It takes a few calculated hours. So find spots in your ideal schedule and then stick to those times. Make sure you show up and do the work in those times with your ideal schedule. Number 28, do a review of your upcoming week, your past week, every week. In other words, I call it like a date with myself. It's like I sit down, a meeting with myself. It's just me. And I look at the past week. What did I get done? What did I do good? What did I do bad? What can I improve on this week? And then I spec out the next week. Where am I going to fit this in? What is what I call a weekly one? We talk about that in both First Deal and Better Life, a weekly one. What's the one thing I got to get done to get closer to the goal? What's the 5-yard play or the 3-yard run, to go back to the football metaphor? What do I got to get done? Number 29, in your quest to build wealth, you've got to be consistent. It's more important than big action. And so never miss 2 days in a row. I'm going to go look for deals. If you're a real estate person, I'm going to go look for deals. Fine, do that every single day. Never miss 2 in a row. If you miss one, I get it. Never miss 2. The same thing with the gym, right? Go to the gym. Just don't miss 2 days in a row. Miss 1, that's fine. Don't miss 2. Consistency over a long period of time is what gets you results. And majority of people love to do a big action, like they're gonna go spend a whole day working on their business and then they don't do anything for a month. And related to that, have a scorecard for your life, for both your personal things and your business things. I talked about KPI tracking a minute ago. A scorecard simply says, are you doing it or not? Now, I have a habit tracker that I use. It just says here's the habit I wanna do: analyze a deal, make an offer, go to the gym, date my wife, spend time with my kids. And then every day I just check off, did I do it or not? At the end of the week, I can see my KPIs, my personal and business KPIs. How did I do this week? Oh, I had an 88% week. I did 88% of the things I wanted to do that I've defined as ideal. That's habit tracking, that's KPI tracking. It's super important. That's my scorecard, and people who keep score win. Number 31, use Parkinsons Law to your favor. Parkinsons Law says work expands to fill the time you allot for it. In other words, if you have a month to get the project done, you'll get it done in a month. So the tip here is to shorten your timelines on everything. If you have 10 years to get to $1 million net worth, how do you do it in 1 year? Ooh, good question. All of a sudden your brain starts thinking differently. If you got a week to get a project done for somebody, pretend you got to get it done tomorrow. Actually, don't even pretend. Make sure it has to get done tomorrow. Find ways to add in constraints. We take better and more defined action the closer we get towards a deadline. Just like in a football game, teams play better when there's only a minute left in the game. That's always a fun part of the game because they play better. Use that to your advantage. Number 32, treat your calendar like a sacred document. It is the most important. Show me your calendar, I'm going to show you your future. Don't just put something on your calendar and then not do the thing. You've defined that is important to you, then go do the thing. I'm gonna go analyze deals from 3 to 5 on Wednesday. Go do it. That is sacred space. Number 33, hang out with people who make the impossible look like another Tuesday morning. This kind of relates back to the mastermind idea, but all I mean here is let's just say the idea of becoming a millionaire real estate investor just seems overwhelming to you. But if you went and hung out every week or every couple of weeks at a meetup or went to coffee with somebody who was already a multi-millionaire real estate investor, pretty soon you'd start believing, oh, this isn't actually that hard, because they make the impossible look like just another Tuesday morning. So how do you find those people? You provide value to them. You go to local meetups, you go to entrepreneur groups, you meet them at the grocery store, you just talk to people and you find people that impress you and you want to be more like, and you just get around them. And you can do this digitally as well. Follow people online that are awesome that you want to learn from, join their programs, read their books. The relationships you have today are what's going to define your future. There's that great quote that says, you are the same person today or 10 years from now as you are today, except for the books you read and the people you meet. So just meet the right type of people and then just surround yourself with them as much as you possibly can. If you want to be a runner, go hang out with runners. If you want to be a millionaire, go hang out with millionaires. Number 34, I talked about social media earlier, but I wanted to talk about content in general and communication. Your ability to communicate your ideas, which is sales, your ability to communicate your ideas is one of the most important skills you can have. Now, if you go back and watch my early YouTube stuff back when I was on Bigger Pockets' YouTube channel, it's terrible. It's awful. I was not a good communicator. I wasn't good at doing this. But now I've been talking for 45 minutes or something like that on this video. No problem. I don't even have a script. I have an outline and I'm just riff it. Now, maybe you don't think I'm a great communicator. That's fine. But the point is, Communication is a superpower. It'll make you rich. Get good at communication. If you need to join Toastmasters, join Toastmasters. That's an organization that helps you speak better. If you want to take a course on speaking, go take a course on speaking. But ultimately, the best way to get better at speaking is create content over and over and over in which you are speaking. That goes back to social media. Can you do one video a day where you just do selfie? I don't care if nobody watches it or likes it. Post it on your social media every day for the next year. It'll take you 1 minute a day and it'll change your life 1 year from now. Communication will make you rich. Number 35, Who Not How. It's a book title by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, but it's also a concept of just like, stop trying to solve your problems by defaulting to I'll take care of it. You know, there was a point in my career where I had to actually sell all of my tools. I had like saws and drills and I had tons of tools because I flipped houses and I did all the work myself for a while. I had to sell all my tools just so I couldn't do the work because my default was I'll just take care of it. I ain't gonna play no plumber. I'll go do it because everything seems like it's just easier for me to do it myself. There are people better at you than every single solitary thing you could possibly do. Now, I'm not saying you have to outsource all of it, but outsource a lot of it and just have that mindset that says, I will solve this problem by a who, not a how. And you do that consistently enough and change your mindset that that's just how you operate. And you will put together teams of people, even if you don't have a lot of money, don't worry about the money thing. You'll put together teams of people who help you solve problems together and everybody will win and elevate together. Number 36, apprentice or learn or mentor under somebody awesome that you want to be like. If you came to me and said, hey, Brandon, I want to get started in real estate investing, but I have no money. I don't know what I'm doing. I would say, go find somebody who's already doing what you're doing and just go work for them. Even if you have to work for free, I don't care. Just go work for them. Now, a lot of busy people aren't going to want to take time to take you under their wings. You've got to build a relationship first before you ask. A buddy of mine named Scott, he actually just worked very part-time, a couple hours a week for me. I found him on Craigslist, I think. And I was looking for help with landscape. So he came to my house and just did landscaping for a few weeks and a few months. And then he kind of discovered what I teach and what I do. And he was like, I want to do real estate. So he jumps in and he says, hey, I'm going to take your program. So he joined First Deal. He paid for First Deal and joined the group and started learning and growing. And then he started looking at deals. They started showing me them. And I said, hey, do you want to just work on one together? You go do the work to find the deal. And then I'll put up some money and you put some money. And he's like, sure. So we went and bought a deal together. And now we're making cash flow because he like mentored under me. And he didn't come to me, without me knowing who he was and just be like, hey, work with me. He did it carefully and he did it slowly and he built a relationship and I could therefore trust him. Number 37, understand that you get the results of what you repeatedly do. It's a phrase I use all the time in the Better Life Tribe, but you get the results of what you repeatedly do. So if you want to see what your future is, just ask yourself, what am I repeatedly doing? If you go to the gym 4 times a week and you count your calories, I guarantee you're going to be in shape. If you analyze deals, make offers every single week, you're going to buy a rental property. If you go on dates with your wife or your husband and you do that every single week and you listen to them every single day and you have time that you set aside with them, you're going to be a better spouse. So the things you do repeatedly are the things that you get long-term. So what are you doing repeatedly? And then we talked about the habit tracker earlier. Track it. If you track it, you'll get it done way easier. So track it. Number 38, get obsessed. Obsession is so like frowned upon. People are like, he's obsessed. That guy's obsessed. Okay, when it comes to like a girl, fine, don't get obsessed and get weird. When it comes to business, get obsessed. When I discovered real estate investing, I worked 100 hours a week on real estate. I was obsessed. And I bought, I made a lot of mistakes. I screwed up a lot. But by the time I was 27, I didn't have rental properties to quit my job. By the time I was 30, I was a million because I was obsessed. When I got into this world of internet marketing or internet content creation, and I started like with the Bigger Pockets podcast with Josh Dorkin, I got obsessed. We worked 100 hours a week for that period, a couple years, obsessed. And when I started building my business, Open Door Capital, which is my big commercial real estate business that now we have over 14,000 units, I got obsessed. So get yourself obsessed. Find something you can be obsessed about for the next few years and go all in. Obsession is a superpower. Number 39, I want to be careful with this tip. There are people you are close with in your personal life who are not the kind of person you want to become like. And so the tip is audit your friend group and the people who come into your world. Now, where I want to try to be careful is I'm not saying that person's poor, I'm not going to be friends with them. Don't do that. That's stupid. Everybody needs somebody to help come behind them and somebody to pull them up to the next level. So I'm not saying ignore people who are worse off than you. I'm just saying there are people, for example, if you're in a group of people who just, all they want to do is get drunk and party every single night, every weekend, and then you're hungover all week, like that's who you become. You become like the people you hang out with. You become like your friends. So you got to audit your inner circle. Audit your inner circle and say, is this really what I want to be spending my time? And that means letting go of people sometimes. Now, I'm not saying you have to like shun them and embarrass them and shame them and say they're a bad person. It just means maybe you don't spend every weekend with them. Maybe it's you get coffee once a month and you keep the relationship if it matters to you. Audit your inner circle. And closely related, but tip number 40, and before I tell you number 40, by the way, if any of these were helpful for you, the best way you can thank me is to simply hit that like button below the video. But the last tip I have for you is this. Follow people on social media who pull you toward your potential and unfollow people who don't. Social media, whether it's YouTube, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. I understand the joy of like just, entertaining yourself with cat videos. I get that, right? I can zone out on cat videos for hours and funny stuff. But when you unfollow people or stop seeing things that pulling you away from the life you want to live and start following people online who are going to help you, that way you turn your social media consuming time into education. That is kind of self-serving because I want you to follow me, Beardy Brandon, on Instagram and YouTube. But it's not just me. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go follow guys like Dan Martell and Alex Hormozy. If you want to be a runner, go follow the running people. Follow people who pull you towards your potential, and you will just automatically, naturally, subconsciously become more like those people because that's the information you're consuming. Our brains consume, and then we become more like the things we're consuming. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you become a more horrific person. If you watch a lot of comedies, you become funnier. You go follow a bunch of people online who are all into smoking weed, you're gonna smoke a lot more. If you follow people who are exhibiting traits about your future, you're gonna become more like them. All right, that is it. But hey, final bonus tip for you. Don't just watch this video, go on to another one and nothing changes in your life. Choose one of these tips today that you're gonna execute on. That's how momentum starts. And tomorrow, maybe pick another one. And if you're serious about hitting your first deal, or you want to scale your income through real estate and scale up to scale out, and you want to just see how I can help you, how we can work together, no pressure, but just DM me over on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram, Beardy Brandon, with one word, help. It's all just right, help. I'll know what you mean. I'll know what's from this video. I'll shoot you over some ideas. Now, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. And then go check out my next video. I'm Brandon Turner, signing off.